Yup.
6, 7.
Good power, man.
8.
Yes, sir.
9.
And
10.
That was behavioral momentum at work. And if you're familiar with it, then you know how powerful it can be in the moment and beyond. And if you're not, well, I'm going to take you through not only the definition, but the practical usage of behavioral momentum in our autism fitness programs. Before I get started, please remember, because I always forget to ask, but in this one, I remembered, please like, definitely subscribe, and share this with people for whom it might make a difference, for the people they're making a difference for, i.e., coaches and professionals and parents who want to integrate strength-based fitness programs into their community, into their homes, into their clinics, schools, etc., etc. But let's get back to behavioral momentum. So our operational definition of behavioral momentum is that when we have success, when we have a win, when we are confident in a behavior or an action that we're undertaking, there's a greater likelihood to repeat or improve upon that particular skill or action, thus increasing ability over time, as long as, in the case of fitness, it's being programmed and coached accordingly. Now, in autism fitness, we use behavioral momentum both to scale an exercise and continue to progress it as is appropriate for that particular athlete, and to scale the programming as a whole. We can use it from a macro perspective, and we can also use it from a micro perspective. Macro looking at the overall program, and micro in the moment as well. So what do we know about behavioral momentum? It's almost a state of what might be referred to, and this was a big thing years ago, a state of flow, where there is focus, there is intention, and of course, yes, the big M word of motivation. Motivation precedes momentum. And so when we see an athlete who's really focused and intent on doing a particular exercise, it is a much likelier, not necessarily automatic, but a much likelier scenario that the athlete is going to be performing that exercise, that squat, that slam, that carry to the best of their current ability, because that momentum that's there, that motivation, is carrying that athlete through each repetition of that set. Now, when we look at it from the macro, the big perspective, when we have behavioral momentum, let's say we've had 5 or 6 or 7 sessions with an athlete, and now they are comfortable and capable and familiar not only with the environment and with the coach, but with the exercises themselves. Because when we first start out with an athlete, we may be using 3 or 4 or 5 exercises if that athlete is often dysregulated or it has a good amount of rigidity around which exercises they will do, and we can't just yet start implementing more exercises, but soon the athlete starts feeling more comfortable, they start feeling more capable, and they begin to accept new exercises into that program. I had a situation like this just the other day. You can see that here with this athlete doing sandbag carries. The previous session, the athlete, and I don't even think it was about the sandbag carry necessarily, but this athlete did not want an introduction to a new exercise. We had just added squats, and now when I attempted to introduce the sandbag carry, he really was abjectly against the notion of adding an exercise. That's okay. So we take a step back and then reintroduce that exercise in a subsequent session, and that you can see right here. Underhand. Here you go. Good. And walk to the cone. Yes. Keep coming. There you go, Ashton. Good carry. Keep going. And turn. Good turn. Nice sandbag carry, dude. Yes.
and down on the wooden box. Awesome.
So what happened here was a result of the macro, meaning the previous sessions where the athlete was being reinforced, where the athlete was becoming more comfortable, more confident, and beginning to have these smaller wins with each exercise, created a situation in which we see behavioral momentum, where earlier in the previous session, the athlete was unwilling to try a new exercise, and now he's willing to attempt that sandbag carry, and that doesn't happen simply out of nowhere. It's not an automatic response. It's because over time, from session to session, that athlete was building up resilience and building up trust with me as the coach as well, which is a big deal. So we see that from session to session, behavioral momentum enables us to do more programming, even add more volume to exercises as well, going from 2 sets to 3 sets to even 4 sets, where we're going to see a greater training effect, and by way of the athlete becoming more familiar with that exercise and developing greater motor control, we are also going to have a situation in which that training effect is a lot more likely, that training effect being where the exercise does its job because the athlete is now controlling the movement a lot better. So that's where we experience behavioral momentum on a macro scale. From session to session, eventually we get these big wins because the athlete has that willingness to try a new exercise or to do a 3rd or a 4th set of an exercise. And now we have an athlete who's becoming more independent and much stronger, much more capable with better motor planning. Now, we dial it in to the micro because oftentimes with our autism and neurodivergent athletes, we are going session to session, and this is typically in our early phase of programming where we might still be assessing an athlete's capabilities with each one of our fundamental exercises. So we might have a 3rd session that's really great, and the athlete does 2 sets of every exercise with limited dysregulated behavior, and then we go to session 4 and the athlete is a little bit more dysregulated, more anxious. We have to pull back a little bit and thin out the robustness of that program. But going from exercise to exercise, or even from set to set, sometimes we can provide the groundwork for that behavioral momentum. So for example, with a preferred exercise like a sandbell slam, an athlete starts doing the slam, and maybe for the first repetition or 2, they need a mirror prompt. So we are demonstrating with our hands that arms up position and doing the slam motion so that the athlete can follow accordingly. And then by repetition 3 and 4 and 5, that athlete's got it. They are independent with that exercise. We don't have to do anything else. We can step back and film it so it looks awesome on Instagram. And definitely it is. But that behavioral momentum on the micro scale is taking that athlete from repetition 3 to repetition 4 to repetition 5, because that previous success with that repetition begets the next repetition. So this happens on a very micro scale with a particular exercise. The exercise feels good. That athlete is focused. They are in the right position to execute the movement as effectively as they can currently do it. It feels good. It might be challenging, but the athlete's got this, and that's what we want to create, those I've got this moments. And that is the groundwork for behavioral momentum during a set. We can also take this a little wider span during a session. So that athlete just had a great set of sandbell slams, and normally at this point they would take a break, but we think, hey, you know, maybe might be a good time to ask the athlete if they are willing to do another exercise instead of taking a break. And sometimes this works out really well, and the athlete is willing to do another exercise. Again, it depends on that particular athlete's profile. It also depends on how new they are to exercise, to the environment, to the coaching. It's not something that I would necessarily do in session 1 or 2 or even 3, but maybe by session 4 or 5, where we've had a 1-to-1 ratio of exercise to break. So the athlete does a set of push throws, and then they take a break for a minute, and then they come back, and then they do a set of sandbell slams, and then they take a break for a minute. You know, there's a relative degree we want to minimize minimize the chaos as much as we can in the first couple sessions and set structure. But the truth is, we are going to have a certain amount of chaos because this is still a discovery period, not only for the athlete, but for us as the coach as well. So building on those small wins, that athlete just did an awesome set of sandbell slams or push throws, and now they're motivated, they feel good, or all the available observational evidence is telling us that that athlete feels really good about what they just did. They are focused. They are, and it's not a necessity, but they're making eye contact with us, and they're giving us kind of that, okay, what's next? All right, well, maybe I'll offer, hey, do you want to do band pull downs? Or do you want to do another set of slams? And as I get to know this athlete, maybe they do take me up on that offer, or maybe they voluntarily start another exercise. You know, one of the biggest wins that we can possibly have as a coach is when the athlete initiates the exercise or decides to do another set on their own, and we step back and say, okay, that just had profound impact. For me, that's the biggest possible deal that I could see with most of my athletes, that they will go and do this on their own, because now we've scaled it to the point where the athlete is as independent as they can possibly be with this right now. Do they still need the coaching? Absolutely. Do they still need some cueing? Sure. But the athlete is taking the initiative there, and that behavioral momentum, like a wave, has brought them to the crest of being as independent as possible and as capable as possible with that exercise right now. So I'm going to leave you with this video of my athlete who I had only programmed 2 sets of farmer's walks for him, and these are 30-pound dumbbells. Sorry, 35-pound dumbbells. It was 2 sets, and then unfortunately I didn't catch it on camera, but he says loud and clear, 1 more. I'm like, all right, how can I deny him that? So behavioral momentum, again, think of it as building, as a staircase to sustain motivation, because motivation is a small component of it, but we need consistency, and we need that athlete to continue to show up and continue to do that exercise, because it's not just about 1 session, it's about getting to 100 sessions and then beyond. But behavioral momentum is the thing that's going to take us there. We can look at it at a micro level, from repetition to repetition to repetition, from an athlete going from doing 6 repetitions in a squat to, on the next set they did 8 repetitions. That behavioral momentum carried those extra 2 repetitions to a full session. We were able to get in a 3rd set of squat and a 4th set of overhead presses, whereas the previous session we were not able to do that, because that's not only a function of physical performance, that is definitely a function of adaptive performance when we're looking at it from the PAC profile perspective, our standard operating process in autism fitness, physical, adaptive, and cognitive. So we have it on the micro and then on the macro. So we look from session to session to session. What did the athlete's profile, what did their readiness, what did their willingness look like in session 1? What does it look like in session 10? How much more are we doing? How much better are they at the exercises? Because over time, again, they're feeling more comfortable, more capable, more confident with the exercises, and that is the thing that we want to build for that athlete, so they continue on with a fit lifestyle throughout their lives, because that is the goal: developing strength and stability and motor skills that are going to transcend the gym or the clinic or the home or wherever you're running the programs, to provide better quality of life, greater independence, and overall health for our autism and neurodivergent athletes. I'd love to know if this is clarified for you, if you've been using behavioral momentum, but you never had the official terms and definition to put to it. Leave that in the comments below, and I'd love to know how this influences your program as well, or if you have stories about your own athletes who have gone from maybe a slight willingness or an unwillingness to do exercise to some momentous wins. Leave that in the comments below, and definitely, above all, leave your questions down below. I love answering, more than anything else, I love answering those training and motivation and programming questions. And of course, if you are ready to join the Autism Fitness movement for movement and become an Autism Fitness Certified Pro, go to autismfitness.com. You can download the course syllabus, and you can even register and begin your coursework as soon as you sign up, and then meet me or one of our master level pros for your full day, hands-on, feet-on, brains-on, in-person or virtual, pro practical. It's all there. I'm Autism Fitness founder Eric Chessen, leading the movement for movement. Thank you very much for watching. Good grip, Jay. And turn. Good turn, man.
1.
Excellent carry. Strong grip. And you can set them down. Very nicely done. Good carry, dude.